you are either born with charisma or you are not. And that idea that charisma can be learned is something that was really revolutionary in my path as a content creator. When you're not on your phone and you're looking at someone on their phone, it's like watching paint dry. They're kind of just hypnotized. I want to be the next me, whatever that may be.
Mark Zuckerberg has control over how you feel. You've never met him. You probably will never meet him. But it's a billions on billions dollar industry that they control.
And I don't want to be like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, looking back and saying, I wish I did, or I should have. I want to say I did, and this is why. Who am I here with?
My name is Aaron Johnson, and I am a library media specialist, teacher, and I'm also just a guy.
All right, sounds good. And for someone that just clicked on this video and they're wondering if this is worth their time, what will we be talking about today?
Yeah, I'm a big believer that there's like a loneliness epidemic in this country, and a lot of people feel like they want to build more connection with people and build on the relationships in their life. So I'm not an expert, but I have some thoughts and ideas about how to help that.
All right. So my name is Gaetan Grech. I'm the creator of Grechxr, the personal brand, and we'll be getting right into the podcast. So, beep boop boop boop, beep beep boop bop boop boop.
Sorry.
So, I guess we'll start with mantras. So, if I were to give a mantra to myself, something that I believed in for a long time is that you are either born with charisma or you are not. And that idea that charisma can be learned is something that was really revolutionary in my path as a content creator. Realizing that you can become charismatic through practice and frameworks that would help you build your on-camera confidence and in-person confidence, and just in general, kind of that idea that you could be in a room even if you're not qualified to be there and still make the most out of that and not be completely shut down and be able to talk to people, build connections, and create opportunities for yourself.
Yeah, and I think, we all suffer from this imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve this. I'm not smart enough. That's kind of like that famous Roosevelt saying, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. So it's really overcoming that fear. I saw something recently where the comedian Kevin Hart was at a party, and Jeff Bezos was there, right? The founder of Amazon, most richest people in the world. And he's like, I'm going to go talk to that person. And he's like, I don't know anything about his business, but if I have the opportunity to make connection, which we're going to talk about today, whatever that was going to be, he's like, I'm going to go say something to him. And of course, the people he was with, it's like, oh, no, you can't do that. And he's like, whatever, So I guess, for him, as long as you do it respectfully and, you leave the door open for something else, I think that was really good. That was a really good story. My mantra, or, something that I live by, is that, like, if you're on time, you're 15 minutes late. So, time is the most valuable thing that we have, right? It's something we can't buy more of. We just have as much time as we do. And I learned that from a bus driver, matter of fact, right? And it makes perfect sense. The idea of, if you arrive at the bus, like on a field trip for a school, if you arrive at 1 o'clock and you were supposed to leave at 1 o'clock, takes 15 minutes to load the bus up, get everybody on, check that everybody's there, and then once they go, it's already 1:15. So for any football fans out there, the famous New York Giants coach Tom Coughlin would literally set his clock on his watch ahead 15 minutes. So he would never be late for something, because if he got there on time, he would still be there 15 minutes early. And especially for, someone going to college. Like if you got to talk to a professor, you can't just show up when class starts. You got to show up early, and you never hurt anybody if you show up a little bit early. So if you're on time, you're 15 minutes late. So that's just one of the sayings that I think about often, because a lot of life is, saying please and thank you and being kind to people. But it's also, if you say you're going to do something, you do it, and you show up when you show up.
I agree with that. I know too, not too long ago, I did 7 days offline without my phone, and I had a Casio watch, and really it's by time that I was able to meet people and do stuff, because that was my main communication, because I couldn't send updates or texts. I'd have to do that through email on my laptop that I'd need internet for. So every time I set up like a meeting with my friends, or I had a class, I had to use my watch, and that was basically my new phone, having to go by time basis rather than like updated text messaging communication. So definitely time is like a really big aspect in that. And kind of that idea too, that you can't buy time, there's something that I'd like to add a little bit to that.
Sure.
This is maybe more like of a caveat, but I believe there is one kind of niche way to buy time, and that's if you buy other people's mistakes. This is more in the idea of you like doing something business, like if you buy someone's knowledge with money, if you could save that time that it would take you to learn the same thing by buying their time and their mistakes, maybe that could be a way that you could buy time to put yourself ahead of where you would be if you had taken that time and like done all those mistakes and then learned eventually. But I still do agree that like we do have an overall set time, which that's unchangeable, and it's already been decided how long we have. But I definitely agree with that. So
well, and I think the famous influencer Gary Vee talks about that. He's like, one thing you should do is like you should go to an old person home or a nursing home and sit down with somebody who's 85, right? Because they've had a lot more time than you have, and their words of wisdom or whatever it may be can give you that new perspective or accelerate whatever type of. Just because they don't know how to use Instagram doesn't mean that they don't have anything to offer. And I think one other thing I wanted to say about time was that there it goes. It's gone. Is that to your point with the Casio watch, right? Like I'm 41 years old. I'm from a before internet time and a before cell phone time, right? Mm-hmm. So like back in the day, like if you said you were going to be somewhere and you weren't there when you said it, like people thought you were dead. Like people were very concerned because there was no Life 360. There was no air tags. It was just like, you said you're going over Dan's house, like you better call me when you get to Dan's house type thing. And that's like the hard thing with relationships now, is that like you said you were going to hang out with a friend, then you just text them and say like, oh, I can't do it or whatever, and you don't feel bad about it because it's just like in a text, and it just life goes on. But definitely showing up is one of the things that's really important in life, and then showing up on time is just as important as well.
All right. I completely agree with the idea that the time that you designate for someone that's like very valuable, and oftentimes in these like this new generation that we have the idea that, like you said with a text, that it could be kind of like pushed, or like, oh, it's not that bad, kind of like setting it as that it wouldn't be that important. But the thing is that since we like consistently do that, like then you just become a person that would be always late, and kind of holding yourself to like a high standard in a sense, but a consistent high standard. I think that'll place you a lot higher. People will like you more. You get more opportunities. That idea too. What else would you be doing besides getting there on time and getting that like opportunity? That's kind of just a time aspect, but also that time, I think one of the big answers for why we are always late and like doing stuff is because of like the phone, the distraction, having an unorganized schedule. For example, when I was learning a lot about business, is that a big thing that someone could say when they want to kind of weasel out of confronting a direct problem is that they'll say that they don't have enough time. And you can't say just pull out your phone, show me your hours, you have 8 hours on your phone, there's your time. But a thing that I learned is that you could use the word escapes me, but kind of like an example, and you could say I also had the same problem, and my partner, she took out my phone and she said, look at the time, you're spending 8 hours on your phone, there's your time. So it's not a personal attack, but it's more like of a friend coming from that idea that you do have time, and saying that in a way that you don't directly offend whatever your potential customer or prospect would be. But it's kind of...
Yeah, and I think life is all about like setting a priority, right? Like many people talk about, like with Steve Jobs, is that like one of the reasons why he was so successful is that like he focused his attention, his priority, or his signal on whatever the specific problem was, and forgot about all the noise. Like stopped listening to the people that said it'd be too expensive or there wasn't enough time, and just focusing on that, what that one thing to do is. And prioritizing stuff gets harder, as you have more responsibility, right? Like when I was in college, like I could prioritize going to the gym because I had like 2 hours a day. I didn't have a job to go to. I didn't have, a house to take care of and things to attend to. So that was prioritized. Now, could I do that now? Sure. But it would be at the cost of something else. So that's like our opportunity cost, microeconomics type thing. Right. And the phone is the biggest time suck for sure. Yeah. Just, that 30 minutes of sleep is a lot better than the 30 minutes of you scrolling before you go to sleep.
Oh yeah.
So just trying to figure out how to manage that best you can, or to go on. And do you think that your 7-day cleanse is a way to kind of realize how sucked in you were in, or is that something that you think you're going to continue on a regular basis, or was that just like an experiment?
So, I mean, totally. Though things that I saw and that I noticed when I was not on my phone, like would be 5 minutes before class, everyone's lining the hallways. I see everyone with their neck downs looking at their phone. And you kind of notice things. It's kind of makes me think of that movie where the guy had like glasses and he could see the aliens in society. That's almost what I felt like. Is I see exactly how much time people spend on their phone, and I use my phone, and it is so easy to let like an hour slip by, 2, 3, 4. But when you're not on your phone and you're looking at someone on their phone, it's like watching paint dry. Like they're just like doing things with their fingers. You see their eyes illuminated, but like nothing is really happening outside of whatever they're doing on their phone. Like they're not actually doing things. They're not moving around. They're kind of just hypnotized by their phone. And it was really interesting seeing that as an outside perspective now that I wouldn't be on my phone, because in all honesty, I'd probably be one of the students in the hallways on their phone.
Right.
But that kind of give me some like introspective and that idea how much time phone sucks up. And overall too, to answer the other part of the question is that I'm definitely going to do that more often. I realized too how much more time I had to do things. Like just in this book, I was able to finish a whole 6-hour like masterclass on sales that I've been putting off for 5 months. For 5 months, saying I'm just going to do it next week.
Right.
I wrote it down on a postcard with like a check mark, a checkbox that once I do it, I check it off, and I never got to it. But when I had no phone, I found that I had so much more time to do things that would get me closer to my goals. I made a vision board. I made a bucket list. I did a lot of work on my portfolio, on my laptop. I did the 6-hour course on the sales. And even after that, I'll check the time, and it was just 8 p.m. And I just finished the whole 6-hour thing.
Right.
So I definitely think if you feel like there's not enough time in your day, everyone has the same 24 hours. And maybe a big taxer on those time that you have in those 24 is the phone. So if you're able to put it down for 3-7 days, you'll find that you're a lot more productive and you'll get a lot closer to your goals than, like, I'd probably say, like, what I would have done in a month, I condensed into 7 days. And realistically, I could have done more. It was just kind of that introduction, but now I kind of know how it is. And going on into the future, like, if I need to be productive on something and I have to do it, the phone's going away. And it's such a great tool, the phone, I agree, but it is also a great distractor, unfortunately. So I think if you put that phone down, you'll do things that you could have never dreamed of, especially in the time span that you're going to give yourself.
Yeah, and I'm not sponsored here, but as the librarian, you have to mention the book Atomic Habits, right? Or like the 7 things that like highly effective people do, for things with time related, right? If you actually write down that you're going to do something, you are percentage points more that you're actually going to do it. So, whether that's exercise, whether that's reading, whether that's doing your laundry, whatever it is, because you're actually sitting down and saying, this is what I want to accomplish. Also, like Warren Buffett, one of the richest people in, the world, who's now like 95, he runs Berkshire Hathaway, which is this famous investment fund, talks about, write down the 10 things you want to do this year, and then, pick the 3 that you want to focus on. And, that's basically saying, yes, I understand. I know I have to do all these things, but I'm going to set a priority on getting these done. And, that's also having, to some extent, realistic expectations. I love to do all these 10 things, but what are with focusing, what is my real, because the other thing, especially with, exercise or other things in life is that if you don't have realistic expectations, then you feel let down and failure. And sometimes you can embrace failure, but other times it's just demoralizing. So
there's actually a quote that I like from MrBeast. It's, you're crazy until you're crazy until you succeed, and then you're lucky. So to someone else that would think, like, say you're too obsessed, that there's other things to do, you got to go out, you got to go hang out with your friends, and to someone else that's looking into you, seeing that like obsession of you, let's say instead of scrolling on your phone, you're filming a video, it might be embarrassing, you might be talking to a camera, damn, that take didn't work. Stop, record again. Right. I said the wrong thing. Just like there, I tripped over my words. But keeping going, having that like obsession to get somewhere with your goals, to embrace like that failure, like you said, to try. Like there's a teacher at Ward, Mr. Sam, he says like the 3 letters, TRY, try. And honestly, I've been thinking about that a lot in college, that try, because I see a lot of people that don't, that they're, the amount of difficulty that they can endure before they give up, quit, or change tabs is so small, it's insane. And that idea that you have to be obsessed to get to your goals, and like you said, laser focus on the ones that count, the ones that you're going to have to decide, like, I'm going to sacrifice the time that I could have put in the others to say that I'm going to focus on this one, is going to get you a lot closer. Because, like, you can't divide 100% across 10 and still have 100% on each single one. You just have to like focus on the things that matter and work your way down the list. And it is so human to think that we could do everything all at once and still arrive at the end goal within the same amount of time that it would take to do one thing.
Right. Yeah, and like for your journey or everybody's journey, is like it's not realistic for everybody to be the next MrBeast, right? And probably a lot of people don't want to be, right? You know, having people from all over the world, you know, following your planes and trying to figure out where you're filming. Like that's like a whole new like level of celebrity and privacy going away. But you know, there are a lot of people that do what they love and have really good followings, and it's not, you know, not everybody's going to be Tom Cruise or MrBeast or whatever, and you can still live a very fulfilling, active, and, you know, prosperous life.
I actually kind of had a dilemma with exactly that. Is I see videos from like this creator called Is UGC and seeing how he travels across the world and he just gets these crazy opportunities. But there's another thing that I see is that when he goes to like a country in Europe and people, like hundreds of thousands of people are circling his car, banging on his windows. He can't even walk out without like 5, 10, 20 people of security like surrounding him. I mean, for a long time I wanted to be like the next Is UGC. For a long time I wanted to be the next MrBeast. But what I realize now, like the more knowledgeable answer is I want to be the next me, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
But kind of that idea that, like you said, that you don't need like a massive following to have success, to be fulfilled in life. It's just I see these creators and these are inspirations for me, and I say I want to be like them, but taking a step back, it's like, do I? Because they also, like, this is their life now. This is what they accepted in exchange of whatever they may be. And that idea too, like you said, the opportunity cost. What life could they have had for the life they have?
Right.
So that idea too, that I also, there's something else that I felt is kind of analysis paralysis, where I see these big creators and I see where I am and I see this huge gap and I say it's impossible to surmount. I can't step over that without falling into the abyss. So it's kind of hard, especially like when you open your feed and you're just met with like the 1% of the 1%. It's hard to have that comparison constantly and not think that you're in such a bad place so far behind. But that's another thing, is when I had taken my phone away for 7 days, I realized the world didn't end. My friends were still alive. I was still alive. Like, I just felt so much more at peace.
Yeah, and like I think that's like the big, the scariest thing about social media in general, and why there's this national conversation, is like whether, you know, what can we do for teenagers and all this kind of stuff, is that in theory, Mark Zuckerberg, right, the founder of Facebook and Instagram, has control over how you feel.
Oh yeah.
You've never met him. You probably will never meet him. And the question is that, you know, they can control how you feel, and that it's a billions on billions dollar industry that they control. And that's why the phone stuff is so crazy, is because, you know, with me growing up, it was like commercials on TV, but that was one TV in one household with 5 people in it. Now it's, you know, a TV, everybody's got an internet connected device on their hand, on their watch, you know, whatever it is. And, you know, it's just the idea that these apps can affect whether or not you're going to have a good day or not a good day.
Oh yeah.
And, that's kind of a scary dystopian thing.
I totally agree. And I've personally felt the same experiences that you just described. Like, I'll hit like a new PR, or I'll get a video that gets like a lot of views, but then I'll see someone with 1 million views. I'll see someone with a PR that just tripled whatever I did.
Right.
And that idea too of that constant comparison with an item that you could put in your pocket and that you spend about a fourth of your day on is insane. Like you said, it's like a dystopia. It's like 1984.
Are you familiar with the phrase "comparison is the death of joy"?
I know the thief, but the death is more fitting.
Yeah. So, that's really, especially as you get older, somebody's got the nicer car, somebody's got, the nicer house, whatever it is. And, I try to stay above the fray, good for everybody. And, I'm just gonna, things that I have, it's because things that I value. And for some, and for a lot of people, it's like they have the BMW or whatever, but then they have that $1,000 payment, which maybe, putting them in debt, or they're sacrificing other things that you don't know about.
Exactly.
But you just see the BMW and think that they're all doing well. All right. So we got time.
Oh yeah.
What's our next topic here?
All right. Probably diving into relationships.
Okay.
Talking about friends, talking about clients. That idea too, building off of that charisma, which would make you more friends and get you more clients. I'll probably start off with how I go about making friends.
Okay.
So the way I go about making friends, let's say this is like a total stranger. There's something that I believe will make it a lot easier for you to have more friends is if you go in places where you have commonalities. Let's say you join a run group. If you go to a concert, both of you guys like the same music, you like the same artist. So if you go in places where you have commonalities like the gym, concerts, school, a certain class, anything like that, it'll be much easier and more natural to find friends for that conversation to get into that natural flow. There are tricks, there are phrases. There's this one I used in Europe is I'll ask someone, how much does a polar bear weigh? Give me like a certain number in kilos because it's in Europe, but I'll say it's enough to break the ice. Hello, my name is Gaetan. There are like little niche phrases like that would get your foot in the door to talk to like a complete stranger, but overall it is much easier to meet people when you're able to notice things, share commonalities, have an open mind, ask good questions. That too is really important. It is really important to ask open-ended questions rather than yes or no questions, because once they respond yes or no, it's kind of just like that awkward pause, right? If you ask open-ended questions, and that too is important, is being a good person who could hold a conversation and a good listener too, because conversation is 50%. How you listen, how you respond, that's the other 50%. For example, there's this body signal that you could send is when you're talking to someone, you kind of like tilt your head. Like that means like I'm actually listening, like I'm showing you my ear, like I want to hear what you say. And there's a triple nod too, like you understand, you're not just like monotone. Another thing that I talked about in a social media class that I was kind of doing like a presentation on is the triangle method, like not just like laser focus, eye contact. It's kind of like going from one eye to the right, down to the mouth, and going back up. So little things like that, and that kind of builds off of what I was saying about charisma can be learned. There's like techniques like that, and if you guys are interested in someone that's talks about these like body languages, talking about charisma and how you can learn it, there's a really good creator called Vanessa Van Edwards, and I learned a lot of stuff from her. It definitely made me a more charismatic person, a better listener, a better speaker, more articulate. And that's kind of the other thing, is that it's something that's not really learned in school, like communication. It's such a big aspect.
Yeah, I have seen her content, and I believe in that too, but I believe that's like step one, and then the step two is just like being yourself, which is a lot harder. Like I know for me, just like building connection, right? Like I'm a librarian. I don't sit in front of, a class of students every day. There's 100 some odd teachers in the building, whatever it is that like, and I'm horrible with names. So one of my things with connection is just trying to learn that one thing about them that they that I can kind of come back to as just if I know nothing or if I have nothing to say, I can at least talk about this. So it's like, oh, I know this person's a Red Sox fan, or I know this person's interested in World War II, or I know. So I kind of, that's how I have to like remember, you know, who they are and just that one thing about them. And then also, and this is, you know, from that lady also, it's just like the actual, when you talk to someone, elicit something from them, you know, tell me something good, right? Or tell me something you're really interested in, right? Get them to tell you, you know, and then listen to what they have to say is a huge thing. I know, and it was a lot more like common before, you know, phones and all that kind of stuff. Like if you were waiting in line for a cup of coffee, you would talk to people, or you would talk to people on the subway. My wife has recently gotten me these like very floral shirts, and there's a lot of people that come up to me just saying like, "Man, I like your shirt," right? And you know, and that to some extent is kind of an icebreaker.
Oh, yeah.
And I know for me, you know, if somebody was telling me a story or something like that, maybe I could dismiss them or say like that their story wasn't that important, or sometimes you run into people that are like one-uppers. It's like, oh, I broke my leg, and then the person's like, oh, I broke both my legs, and you know, and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, and that kind of goes back to that comparison is the thief or death of joy. Yeah, I liked what you said about also, you know, going into like the how and the why questions instead of, you know, what school are you going to? Saying, why did you choose the school you're going to? Or, you know, why do you like this band? Or, you know, whatever it is. Those are all definitely good ways to gain attention. And then probably the next, you know, if you secure that, you know, first couple interactions, right, you have to be reliable and you know, keep up that same mentality.
I agree. And kind of going off of that too, you'll be surprised how many opportunities you can get just by talking to people, just by being bold and just introducing yourself, asking good questions. For example, for my senior experience, I was in Miami and I was at South Beach and I wanted to film interviews. And I walked up to these two guys and I asked them, I said, what do you guys do? I want to learn about you. What do you guys do? You guys look successful. My name is Gaetan. And from there, the conversation just went. I mean, I was even part of his YouTube video. They're called the Phone Flippers.
Right.
And they were making millions of dollars flipping phones. That's how they were in Miami. And I mean, I just got their contact and kind of it just went from there. So I would have never had that opportunity had I been too shy or uncomfortable to ask these questions. And this is kind of another thing is framing. It's very important. And I think that'll make conversations a lot easier in how you think about them. Because having that idea of dread, like dreading the conversation, say like, what if they say this thing to me? Or there's something that I fear even more than that is, what have I missed out on by not having it? So kind of that idea that talking to people creates opportunity for both yourself and also for them. And by being bold, having good questions, talking to people, being open, easy to talk to, being a good listener, all of these aspects stacked together will get you a lot more opportunities. You have a lot more friends. You feel a lot more fulfilled. You have people that actually, they align with your goals. Like whatever you want, if you're able to convey that and attract people that want the same thing, then you'll build your friend group and you'll get closer to your goals. And when you're surrounded by people, it'll be so much more conducive to your growth, and you'll have people that you could rely on, just like you said.
Yeah, and like I think that you spoke about like when you weren't looking at your phone, you're actually there was an art once called people watching, where people just sit on a bench and gaze amongst a crowd of people, or sitting in a park, or whatever, and that can help you like try to figure out, and maybe there's someone you want to talk to, or whatever. That was certainly an art form. And I think that I don't know, one of the things I wrote down here is like, I think also when you start being more aware of your environment, that like everyone around you has like dignity, and that like they are, they're real people. They're people that are proud, and they're just trying to go about their lives and their stories. And then like that was a long time thing on like Instagram or whatever that they used to do, like the people of New York, the people of New Orleans. It's like, here's this person that just because somebody asked, got this amazing story of, overcoming the odds, or dealing with adversity or challenges or success or whatever it is. And it basically all started out just by like just asking. You see people, man on the street, just ask. And all they can say is no. Yeah. It's not personal, right? It's not gonna ruin your day. It's just like, okay, on to the next.
I actually have an exact story of that.
Yeah.
In New York, I went up to this guy. He had like a full filming camera. He had like a crew. It was in the back of a truck. They were filming something, and I just went up and I asked them, "What are you guys doing?" I'm a content creator. I've been filming videos, and I'm interested. And he gave me his business card, and now I have his contact. Another example, I went to a Guinness World Record setting in New Haven, largest pizza party. And there was
a bunch on 60 Minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I said it to you, yeah.
Yeah. And I just asked the guy, I said, what's your account? I'm interested in filming. I like talking to people. And I wasn't going to talk to you, but I decided to get over my social fear and decide to talk to you anyway. And my name is Gaetan. And there's so many opportunities that came from me speaking out. And unfortunately, the easiest thing to do is just not to do it.
Right.
But that is not how you're going to get opportunities. That's not how you're going to advance in like your career, whatever you'd like to do, your goals. And even if he did say no, I had people that said no. For example, when I go to Fairfield University, I hold out my microphone and said, "Would you like to be in an interview?" And either they ignore me, they say no, they laugh at me. So what?
Yeah.
So what? And also, you're not going to build like a strong confidence and a strong persona by always getting yes as an answer.
Right.
It's the no's that kind of build you, and finding your way around that, and and not taking that to the next interviewee too. That's very important. And kind of just like rolling with the punches, and just like dealing the cards that you're given and getting the most of them, creating opportunity for yourself, talking to the people, talking to interesting people, talking to people that align with the stuff you want to do, and having that like learner's mindset too, and asking the right questions.
Yeah. Now, in regards with clients, I have a extremely small and not extremely productive, drone business, because I got my pilot's license to fly commercially, and then for me it was a side hustle. If I was more committed to it, I'd put more time in it. So it's kind of on hold, because it's not something that I necessarily need. But like one of my approaches for clients is like, I don't get paid until you're happy, which is the kind of the customer's right mentality. And if I don't think that the quality of work that I'm producing and that I'm giving to them, I'm not going to I'm not going to ask, for them to pay that. So I had a client that ran a business, and then she sold the business to another person, and we did something, and probably could have communicated more about whatever the outcomes or the wants were. But she still uses my work. I didn't get paid for that work because I didn't think that most of the stuff I gave her was at the best quality. But it's still being used, and she's using it. And, for her, she respected that, she didn't have to cut a check for me, and that, that I, stood by what I delivered. So even though, I didn't burn the bridge, with that client. And then, potentially if she had other needs or other friends, like I could be a reference. But that's just one of my interactions with being a client or working with clients.
I like what you were talking about, the guarantees. That's a big thing that I learned about Alex Hormozi's sales, is having that guarantee, saying that, like, for example, this would be for a coaching business. It's that I'm going to guarantee that you're going to learn this. The only question I have for you is, do you want to learn it in 12 years or do you want to learn it in 12 months? If you want to learn it in 12 months, I genuinely want to save you time. This is how you're going to get through it, and this is my product. And I guarantee that you are going to reach this, or else your money back. That's kind of building on that guarantee that you had. Mm-hmm. And that idea, too, that, like, what is money good for besides paying for the things that you actually care about? So there's, like, a bunch of aspects that go into, like, the idea of sales. But you mentioned, like, that guarantee, and that's kind of like a connection that I made right there. And I definitely think that it was good that you didn't burn the bridge, like you said. Maybe just, like, follow up with a lady, say, like, oh, this is another thing that I learned too, is not asking, like, if you were to ask her about any other connections that you could get, like someone who would need this, I think it's better to ask the question this way rather than ask the question, do you know anyone else? Because that would be like a yes or no question. Right. But if you ask for, like, do you know someone, kind of with the idea that you're looking for a name rather than a yes or no question, like, do you know anyone that could benefit from their services, from this service, and asking for a name rather than a yes or no question. There's a way to ask it. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it right off the bat, but there definitely is a way to ask the question in a way that you'll get a name answer rather than just a yes or no. So kind of that idea of that open-ended question.
Sure.
But definitely, I think you could scale that drone business. Just taking, like, step-by-step questions, step-by-step, like, processes,
right,
to get you closer to that, like, scaling the side hustle. And there's also a good question that I like to ask myself as a creator, or this works for, like, absolutely anything, is asking yourself, as someone that has already achieved this goal, or someone that is already, like, on path with achieving with this goal, what would they do? Like, do those things. Because we often know what we have to do. The only thing is, like, doing them.
Right.
Or we think that we could find an easier way to do them, but oftentimes the answer is just in front of us. Like, for me, like, the question I'd ask myself is, what would a successful content creator do? Would they post a reel today, or would they wait for tomorrow? So kind of asking yourself that question and building from there. And there's actually this good quote that I like from Joe Rogan is, be the hero of your own movie.
Right. Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to, like, relationships and friends. Like, there's, like, that old-timey saying is, like, you're defined by who you hang out with, right? Like, that if you hang out with a bunch of people that don't take life seriously, you're not going to take life seriously. And that, like, within whatever it is that you're doing, you want to have those allies, those trusted individuals, that are going to give you, valuable feedback, or tell you, like, you're not moving in the right direction, or and those relationships are definitely worth their weight in gold. Because they want you to succeed just as much as you want to succeed, and you're not doing it for them, but that that they're rooting for you, and that's why I'm here right now, right? And I hope that you got that impression from when I was at Ward, that that I cared, building a connection, doing what I can to be an ally in whatever your journey is.
Yeah, and I want to take this time and thank you for that. And it definitely came off that way.
Yeah.
And because of you, I've gotten a lot of opportunities. I've gotten a lot of experience, and just kind of like you helped me build like this brand. Even just us being on this podcast, it was all through your help. And definitely surrounding myself with people like you, people that get me closer to my goals, move me in the right direction. I appreciate that, and thank you.
You're welcome. So
transition to like the talk about the UGC and the teacher's perspective.
Yeah, I kind of already talked about that with the just kind of like working with all teachers. So with the UGC stuff, if you want to talk about like deadlines or interactions or whatever it is, that'd be interesting.
So I'm going to talk about like UGC, which UGC stands for user generated content, and I believe it's one of the easiest way to monetize in 2026. Basically, what it is you're making videos for brands. Like you're making ads for brands, but that don't feel like ads. It's more of like a friend recommendation rather than like a hard sell ad, which like shows all the features of the product. And I bet you that you could probably just like think about one that you'd see that. So you'd see like a reel or a video, and they subtly mention like a certain website that would allow you to do something, and then now you're curious, you look in the comments, you're like, what is this website? That is a form of UGC, whether they know it or not.
Right.
But also connecting that to the idea about like relationships, you have to be a good communicator to make good UGC videos that don't feel like hard sell ads.
Right.
It has to be subtle, but it also, in another way, it has to be converting. So you have to like build curiosity with the viewer, make a high quality production video that would like follow, like, let's say a viral rapper, which a viral rapper, for those who don't know, is the idea like a gift wrapper. Like you wouldn't just gift someone on Christmas an Amazon box. You'd like take the item out, put it in like a nice box and wrap it. So that idea of that viral wrapper, which is like you follow like certain frameworks that would increase the likelihood of your video hitting like more views, more likes, more conversions, whatever the brand goal is. But that's just like a quick little rundown of what like UGC is.
Yeah. So what can you share an example of the brands that you've worked with? Or
yeah. So the first brand I work with, it is a little embarrassing, but I worked with an AI image editing brand. And the thing is, I told myself that I was going to accept the first deal I was given. And albeit that about a week or two after I accepted that deal, I got a bunch more, but I was already locked in with that. And I needed experience. I really needed experience. And I just continued with them. And what it was like an AI prank thing where you just put like an image, you put like a prompt, and then you'd like make something like funny that like you'd send to like your parents or your friends, and then you'd get like a funny reaction back, and that's basically the video. But what it did is that I learned so much, like on what brands want, the importance of communication, delivery, actually reading what they want you to do rather than just saying like, this is what I would want, so I'm going to create that. But that also gave me, like I said, a lot of experience, so that when I do brand deals that are more aligned with what I actually want, having that prior experience is something that I value a lot more than even the money that they paid me, which I would have done for free just for the experience.
Yeah, and I think that your point's very valid, where you said you were going to take the first one you were going to get. I think that everybody wants the perfect case scenario, you know, you get something, you commit to it, you do it.
Yep.
And then you move on to the next. You know, there's plenty of stories of actors, you know, saying I was going to be in the next Avatar, but, you know, I was doing this movie and, you know, I made the commitment and I'm going to finish it out. And, you know, that mentality, that ability to say what you're going to do and deliver, you know, is, you know, your reputation becomes just as important as the content you create. For sure.
Actually, building off of what you were saying, there's something that I like to think to myself too, is that, I mean, every successful person went through an awkward phase. And if that is where I am now, then so be it. I'll bite the bullet gladly, because that just means that I'm going to get closer to my goals, and it means that it's going to give me experience. I'm going to get more knowledgeable in whatever that may be. And if I have to be embarrassed for something like that, then also, I mean, considering what will be the alternative, like me not accepting and me keep pushing it back, that's what I've been doing.
Right.
Basically, my whole life, but I just decided to put my foot down and say, I'm going to do something about it. And I don't want to be like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, looking back and saying, I wish I did, or I should have. I want to say I did, and this is why. And just having like no regrets. And there's another thing.
I think the kids say no regrets.
Oh yeah.
Just
there's another thing that I like is the idea of connecting dots. Like the more pins you put on a board, even if you don't know how they connect, one day they'll connect.
Yeah.
Like, for example, these sales, like I don't cold call businesses.
Right.
And this is kind of what the idea was cold calling businesses, selling a product, talking to customers on the phone. But I know that whatever I learned, I'm going to apply one day, some way. And I have some friends that they do cold calling with businesses, and I told them that I could do your sales calls for free. I don't even want commission. All I want is the experience to talk to a brand, become a better seller, someone that could be a more effective communicator, and really all I need is experience, and that's what I look for.
Yeah, I'm sure your school has it, and I'm guilty of taking this job once. Was the calling alumni for donations, and you know, I went to school up in New Hampshire, and we had to make calls the day after the Patriots had won one of their Super Bowls, which is, you know, everybody's up late at night because the Patriots just won, all that kind of stuff, and then the next day we had to go to work. But literally, it was a binder that you opened. You know, it had a script, and you know, if they say this, do this. If they say that, and do that. And I don't know if embarrassing was the word, but it's kind of like you're like, I don't want to ask this person for money, but you find a way to be like, hey, or actually, I guess what you really found is that you really believe in the quality or the experiences of the school. So when you're asking for money, you know, you're going to find out if they still believe or if they had a good experience. You know, whenever they went, was it 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago? And that was an eye-opening experience. And, you know, I wouldn't want to do it for a living, but it was definitely something to take something away from.
Now, I have a question for you on building off of that. Would you say that you learned how to talk better to people, or you've learned like kind of what their rebuttals would be, or even if it's like very marginal, that you got like experience by talking to people, maybe something that you could apply like now, and even if like there's like an uncertainty, I bet you that it must have connected like somehow, maybe if like you can't like name it.
Yeah, I think that you know, I still find myself that I can be awkward in front of people. If I spend a lot of time in direct eye contact, I sometimes feel myself falling into the other person, like, oh my God, like we're engaged in direct eye contact now, and my thoughts get lost. But for the most part, I think that it's all, preparation based. Like we talked about with that lady creator, like job interviews are stressful. Like my job at where I work now, I did while I was on vacation in Hawaii at 4 a.m. because there was a 6-hour difference. But I think what it all kind of goes back to is, just a belief in who you are and what you're trying to do. And that if, if people aren't buying into what you're trying to sell for them, it's not, you're not their person, and it's not personal. But especially in the business of teaching, I think a lot of people want to feel it's like everybody's knows their content and knows if they're going to teach U.S. history, they know the Constitution and they know this and they know that. But in the teaching profession, they really want to feel that you're there for the students. You care about the students. You want them to succeed. You will go the extra mile, and that you'll be on board with the various things that the school is trying to do. And at least where I'm at, where you went, our leadership, the principal is very, very interested in making people feel comfortable, and he goes around the classrooms and in the morning and that's his mantra, or that's his step one of that's really important to them. And then if we can do that right, then we can start to do everything else right.
And I think that kind of boils down to like communication, like how you present yourself, being a good listener, being willing to like listen, to maybe change your opinions. Like you said, like there's the informational part, but there's also that people part. Because like you could be a genius, but if you don't know how to talk to people, it'll be really hard to get opportunities, to be understood, to be a person worth listening to. That's very important. It is like kind of having that information, but being able to apply it and like to talk to people, to create opportunities, to be a good listener, to be like you said, like the mantra, like having defined your values, and from there that kind of just like builds a person. That's like, it builds like who you are and who you want to be. And a lot of times you could be even able to tell someone's future by seeing like what their values are, how they act around people, how they act when they're not like supposedly being watched, or something like that. Kind of like building on like who a person would be, on all these like different aspects between like communication, relationships, your values, communication, and everything like that.
Yeah, like, and in my profession, working in the library, like my number one kind of core principle is like, I'm here to help. I am a helpful person. You need to find a book, you need to find a research database, you need to figure out this problem. Like, I'm here to help you, not like shoo. I don't have time for you. I got better things to do. If that kind of goes, and I wrote down over here this idea of, character building. There's a book by David Brooks called The Road to Character, and he basically talks about like, you should worry about building your, he calls it like, You should worry about what people are going to say at your eulogy, not what your resume looks like, right? So in my eulogy, I just want, especially in the professional world, I want people to think like I'm helpful, I'm caring, and I'm willing to, go the extra mile if you're on board too. I'm not going to do it for you, but I'm there to to help people along the way. And I guess, or the one thing I did have written down, which I thought was also kind of interesting, is, and I'm a teacher, so I don't talk in the political world, because it's just like, what do teachers, the whole teacher thing. So, but I was very interested in, and now there's this whole thing about like who goes on a podcast and all that kind of stuff, right? So like there's this guy down in Texas named James Tallarico, and he was on Rogan last summer, and that was kind of like the first kind of foray into the national front. And I saw former President Obama talking about him, just saying like, hey, like one of the things I talk about with people in general, politics or not, it's just like really believe with what you believe, right? Like kind of, and that kind of goes back to this idea of like, what are your principles that are unflappable, that like, that you really believe, and he's up to become a senator in Texas, and just a really interesting guy, and he used to be a middle school teacher. So if there are any like kind of saints or anybody that like, if you can survive being a middle school teacher, I don't know what your middle school experience, but they are a different breed. Oh, yeah. And maybe they can bring about some change or interesting things or whatever, but just a really and sometimes in a world that seems kind of devoid of values and beliefs, that's just one kind of person that I've been interested in as of late.
Sounds good. If I were to say someone that I'm interested in, like I said, there's that business idea about like Alex Hormozi, the influencer side, more like I Show Speed. But I mean, the thing is, when someone asks me like a question, asking like, who do I look up to? It's kind of hard to give a straight answer. Yeah. Because for me, it's more an amalgamation. I hope I said that right.
Amalgamation, something like that.
Yeah. Of like multiple people. Like I'll take aspects of one, aspects of another, and kind of make this into this like invisible, unnameable person, as like, this is kind of like the general thing that I want to be, the person I want to be. And I guess where I'm at right now is on the path of discovering who that person is, and maybe shedding my old skin in a way, as a metaphor, and stepping into that new person that I'd like to be. And it is a journey, it is a process, and even just this podcast helps me go in that right direction, because I know if I like stayed at home or like I watched Netflix instead of like coming here, that would not be getting me closer to my goals. I prefer being here with you, listening to the great ideas that you have to share, right, and filming it, rather than like doing something else. Because this, in the end, is what I want to do. This is the places that I want to go, and I really and strongly believe that by doing this, by being open and talking and listening and having these great conversations, is what will get me closer to that end goal.
Yeah, and that's kind of funny, like with that amalgamation idea, is that like you see that in like the sports world. Like if you had the perfect quarterback, you'd want the mind of Tom Brady, the arm of Aaron Rodgers, or like people do that with athletes. But Yeah, it's great to have conversations, right? Like in person, and I really enjoyed this, and I think that there's a lot to be learned, and that we're always on a journey. We don't know where the destination is. Like it all has a purpose, and you're gonna think you have it, and then it's gonna all disappear, and you're gonna start all over again, and that's just
That's life.
the stages of life and all that. But I'm glad to be one piece of it.
All right.
So other than that, brother.
All right. Well, thank you very
All right.
much.
For sure.